Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. This is Joel Perez here for your weekly episodic news show. This is Behind the Mic, and it is Behind the Mic, episode number 60. We made it here to the 60th episode of Behind the Mic, and we're making it here 1 week before the grandest, the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania 34. So as the clock ticks towards WrestleMania 34, the amount of news about the pay-per-view grows ever more fond. And of course, we have a bunch of news here today on Behind the Mic, episode number 60, about the WrestleMania 34 event itself, as well as things going on after WrestleMania 34. Some huge news stories coming out here on Behind the Mic, and the biggest of them all for the week, of course, has to do with Roman Reigns. And we've been talking about Roman Reigns a lot lately, and it's because he's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania 34. All goes as WWE plans, which at this point it will. But we have news on the polarizing figure, to say the least, turning heel at WrestleMania 34. Huge news on that accord. Some interesting stuff, and that is something that definitely piques my interest and that I want to talk about a lot here tonight on Behind the Mic as well, or here this morning, whenever the hell you're watching this, of course. Anyways, we have news as well on John Cena furious with the WWE because they want to bring back The Rock for WrestleMania 34. There's an interesting situation going on there, a little bit of a double standard, and it goes to show you where WWE positions some people over other people and how that isn't necessarily fair. That's a news story that I want to talk about because it displays the type of company that we are dealing with here. As we talk about the WWE, we have news on Shane McMahon. We're going to have a big discussion on whether or not Shane McMahon will make it to WrestleMania 34. And if he doesn't make it, who can be replacing him? This news article that I'm going to read you today says that he will make it to WrestleMania 34, and it's going to give us the reason why. But we're going to, of course, discuss the worst case scenario in this situation and how WWE can make up for that. We have the ulterior motive for WWE signing Ronda Rousey. It isn't just because she's Ronda Rousey. They also want to use her for their own advantage. And why wouldn't you if you were WWE? We're going to talk about what WWE wants to use Ronda Rousey for. It has to do with Raw being 3 hours, and it's going to impact that. So we're going to talk about that as well. We have news on The Undertaker and whether or not he is appearing on Monday Night Raw this week. We're going to talk about that, of course. And, of course, the final news story right here on Behind the Mic, Rey Mysterio's status for WrestleMania 34. What could it be? Will he be in a matchup? There is recorded plans for Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania 34. We're going to talk about all that and so much more right here on Behind the Mic, episode number 60. But of course, before we get into all of that, of course, I want to tell you guys to make sure to go check out all the other content on the Ringside Wrestling News channel, because there is so much other content to go check out. Just last night, I uploaded a video that I highly suggest that you go check out. Very good stuff. Just yesterday on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel, we were talking about what I would make the official match order for WrestleMania 34. That means we're talking about who's main eventing, who's starting the show, the way I would pace the show so that this quote-unquote 7-hour extravaganza, as we know it will be, is actually watchable and not something that at the end of the night you're saying, holy crap, I am completely tired, I am completely blown out. We are booking WrestleMania 34 all the way from the pre-show to the main event as far as what order the matches should go in. Make sure to go check that out. Great video right there. A lot of valid points concerning WrestleMania 34 and how that pay-per-view should go. So make sure to go check that video out. Great content for all of you to go check out. That's some of the side content, but as far as main regularly scheduled content, this past Monday and Tuesday, of course, your Monday Night Raw and Smackdown live reviews were on the air. Make sure to go check those out. Of course, we're talking Monday Night Raw, the Roman Reigns situation, John Cena and The Undertaker. John Cena versus Kane, which main evented that show. Barf. But on SmackDown Live, we're talking about Daniel Bryan officially getting a matchup at WrestleMania 34, as well as everything going on with Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles and the build to that match. So a lot of exciting stuff going on WWE television right now. Those Raw and SmackDown reviews are really can't miss stuff, so make sure to go check out your Monday Night Raw and SmackDown reviews. Speaking of the content that we're going to have next week on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel, that's going to be a real extravaganza right there. Screw WrestleMania 34. The amount of content you're going to be getting on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel is absolutely revolutionary. On Monday and Tuesday, you got your Monday Night Raw and SmackDown reviews. On Thursday, you're going to have your WrestleMania 34 preview and predictions. On Friday, you're going to have your NXT TakeOver New Orleans preview and predictions. On Saturday, you're going to have Behind the Mic, and Saturday night, you're going to have NXT TakeOver New Orleans review. And then, of course, on Sunday, the big finale, you are going to have WrestleMania 34. That review will be up on the Ringside Wrestling News channel. So there's no better time to subscribe to the Ringside Wrestling News channel than right now. Make sure to click that subscribe button, and not just that, click on that notification bell so you won't miss a single video uploaded here, right here on Ringside Wrestling. On top of subscribing, make sure to like this video if you enjoy what you're hearing here, and of course, comment what you think of all these news stories. Tell me if your opinion differs from mine. Tell me everything you want to say. Sound off in the comment section below, because for now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go straight into the news stories. We move on here to the first news story on Behind the Mic, and of course headlining this very show, just like he will be headlining, unfortunately, WrestleMania. It is Roman Reigns, and apparently there is a surprise ending scheduled for Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and if this happens, it will be a surprise to me, because to this very point, I doubt that WWE will be willing to turn Roman Reigns heel. I do not see them taking on what their radar is a quote-unquote risk that is this big. Since Brock Lesnar will leave the company after WrestleMania 34, WWE officials have done everything in their power to make him the heel and force a strong babyface reaction, Roman Reigns. They've intentionally buried Lesnar with the WWE Universe by having him no-show episodes of Raw and beat down Roman to give him more sympathy. The belief was this would step up a major babyface win for Reigns as he captures the WWE Universal Championship on the grandest stage of them all. But it could set up another big angle. According to a new report from Raja, WWE officials are strongly considering a major heel turn for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34. One suggested angle would have Paul Heyman turning against Brock and aligning himself with a heel Roman, which would be an extremely surprising angle, to say the least. Cage Side Seats is reporting that Heyman's contract is up shortly after WrestleMania as well, but he could work out a part-time schedule to advocate for Reigns when necessary. Even if Heyman does not turn, a heel turn for Roman is a possibility. WWE officials are considering such a drastic move for Roman Reigns because there's a genuine concern for his run as the WWE Universal Champion after WrestleMania. Most fans are expecting another superstar shakeup very soon, but Raw has too many baby faces and not enough heels on the roster. The main idea is a heel turn for Roman Reigns could create a ton of possibilities for him after the grandest stage of them all. The fact is, WWE officials might not be willing to take such a huge risk and could decide that the time is not right for Reigns to turn heel. WWE's booking has always been to build their top babyfaces as underdogs who will overcome the odds and win. That's the formula, and the backlash against their booking is nothing new. But WWE's booking can be predictable is a big factor why many fans still resist Roman as a babyface. The WWE Universe has known that Lesnar vs. Reigns was the plan for the WWE Universal title match at this year's WrestleMania for almost an entire year. Not many WWE fans are walking into the Superdome expecting Roman Reigns to lose. However, a heel turn could make a predictable main event unpredictable and give the fans one of the most shocking endings in WWE history. The interesting part is a heel turn for Roman on the grandest stage of them all would only be the beginning. And that is what they need to do. Do I think WWE is going to do it? Absolutely not. I don't think WWE is going to take this quote-unquote risk. It's not a risk. It's realistically not a risk, but in their eyes, it is a risk. Turning Roman Reigns heel, what if that sacrifices him ever being a babyface? It won't. If anything, it will push him towards being a babyface because Roman Reigns, realistically, as a heel, will be getting the right reaction. Roman Reigns, I feel, could play a great heel, and especially if you align him with Paul Heyman, I mean, the magic that can be created there. Roman Reigns is a natural dick. He's a dick. Nobody likes him. That's part of the reason why he gets such a heel reaction. Or not even a heel reaction, a go-away heat. That's what he gets. When people boo him, they want him to go away because he sucks. Because he sucks. It's not only the fact that he is this guy who you really don't want at the top and he's being pushed down our throats. It's also the fact that Roman Reigns comes across as a guy that you don't like. I don't like that guy. That's Roman Reigns' essence a lot of the times. He comes across as a natural heel. But WWE does not decide to go that route. Instead, they decide to take this guy who should be a heel and push him into this babyface sympathetic position where most of the crowd does not buy into it. If you do this heel turn, you're finally executing what needs to be done with Roman Reigns. And the crowd is going to start noticing that Roman Reigns is a good performer because he is a great performer. He's great in the ring. There's no doubt about that. But his promo skills as a babyface are very lacking. His in-ring skills are great, but I can name you 10 to 20 other guys employed by the WWE alone who can do better in that ring than Roman Reigns. So you need to express him in a strong role. You need to take the load with Roman Reigns when it comes to storytelling and when it comes to making this guy a star. WWE has agreed to take the load, but they've gone in the wrong direction. WWE needs to take their efforts and all this initiative that they put into getting Roman Reigns over, and they need to put this initiative into making him a huge, badass heel. Because that's exactly what will get Roman Reigns to the position he needs to be as the major heel in the WWE. Roman Reigns is not the guy when it comes to being the major face of the WWE. That is now Daniel Bryan. And I think WWE is at the point where they've realized that. It's been 4 years of this Roman Reigns initiative, and he's still getting booed just like he was on day one. Actually, he wasn't even being booed on day one. He wasn't even being booed on day one because he was fresh out the Shield. WWE created the boos because they sucked the life out of any potential Roman Reigns had. But that's beside the point. He's been being booed for 4 years. He's been being booed for 4 years. That's my original point. So he's been being booed for 4 years, and WWE has had a main event 4 WrestleManias in a row, and it hasn't gotten him over. I think they're at the point where they've realized it's not working. Daniel Bryan is the true face of the WWE. That's why they allowed him to come back, according to that theory, that I believe strongly as well, that Daniel Bryan was never injured to the point where he could never compete again. I don't believe that for a second at all. But Roman Reigns turning heel would be hugely beneficial to him. It would be hugely beneficial to the WWE because then you can go ahead and create the biggest heel in your company, Roman Reigns, against the biggest babyface in your company, Daniel Bryan? How much money would WWE make off a feud like that? WWE has pushed this Roman Reigns initiative for years upon years, and they've pushed it in the wrong direction. They could finally right that wrong, and when it comes down to it, people are going to start to respect the heel turn. They're going to start to respect his work, because you look at a guy like Kevin Owens. I respect his work as a heel. I really, really do. He's a great heel, but I cheer him and I like him because he's great as a heel. Sami Zayn, great as a heel. They've gotten that respect from being heels. You can start to get Roman Reigns that respect, so when he does turn babyface once again in a year or two, or maybe even 3 years, when he does turn babyface again, people respect him and they are more willing to cheer him, and you can erase all those wrongs that you did with him in this abomination of a run. Roman Reigns needs to turn heel. Will it happen? Probably not. But everything about this is a positive. Even the matchup at WrestleMania 34 itself, I don't believe that Roman Reigns can beat Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a legitimate opponent. Roman Reigns, no way in hell that I believe that he is legitimate. Having Paul Heyman interfere and allow Roman Reigns to win will further that matchup and make it better for me, because I will believe the ending if it's a Paul Heyman interference. And on top of that, these two guys can put on a great matchup, because like I said, Roman Reigns is a great in-ring performer. When you're a heel, it allows people to see your work as a heel and respect you, and Roman Reigns will put on great work as a heel. If he has Paul Heyman by the side doing the promos, Paul Heyman will carry that work of load. But even then, I think Roman Reigns could cut a great heel promo. I really think he could, because, like I said, he's in essence a dick. He is a heel. You can tell that in real life. Roman Reigns walks around like a cocky son of a bitch, and he has every right to, because he's at the top of the WWE. Whether it's deserved or not, that's another story. But WWE can push him into a position where people can start seeing, instead of this blind hatred because of everything else that you've done, people can start seeing the work that goes into Roman Reigns. That's something that you'll be able to do when he is a heel. Right now, as a babyface, nobody's buying anything. I'm not buying anything because it sucks. It absolutely sucks. He's not in a position that he should be. As a heel, that is a different story. That is a different story. And a heel Roman Reigns is the right Roman Reigns. I think if WWE were to go with this, they would have what they need to push their company to the limits that it needs to be pushed. Because right now, WWE isn't doing anything that's blowing my brain or pushing me out of my seat and saying I'm excited for the WWE's future. Because I'm not. I'm not. If Roman Reigns were to turn heel, if Daniel Bryan were to be the leading babyface carrying this company, we would truly be in some exciting, exciting times. Make this Universal Championship run that Roman Reigns will have a good one. Stop wasting that title away and making it some type of garbage that nobody cares about. Do right by this title. It's been sitting off of Monday Night Raw for a year now. A year. You mean to tell me it's going to come back onto Monday Night Raw just so it could go into the hands of Roman Reigns in a run that nobody's going to pay attention to, because it's just going to be name after name after name getting beaten by Reigns, and nobody can buy into that? Make it something interesting. Make these feuds something that you can sink your teeth into, because I know everybody wants that and, quite frankly, deserves to see that, because we've really been sitting through some garbage when it comes to the WWE product as of late, and this could really turn that train around and produce some good television. So that's what I think of that. Roman Reigns, he can carry your company, but as a heel. That's my opinion on that. For now, we move on to the next news story. For now, we move on here to this news story regarding Ronda Rousey, the woman herself at this point in the WWE, and of course it has to do with WWE's ulterior motive when it comes to signing Ronda Rousey to the WWE. So, of course, I mean, this is expected. WWE signs Ronda Rousey as a big business move. So there's going to be more than one reason for WWE signing Ronda Rousey, and it's not just to get her into the women's division. Here's the article, and of course, after that, I will give you my opinion. WWE signing Ronda Rousey was a big move. The company knew what she brought to the table in terms of mainstream exposure and legitimacy. WWE officials knew Ronda would help bring excitement, sell tickets, and merchandise, but the company had some additional reasons for signing Rousey to a full-time deal. The biggest reason was to use her as a key to open specific doors that had previously been unavailable to WWE. For instance, WWE officials are trying to utilize Rousey's mainstream exposure to elevate Stephanie McMahon into a much bigger star and make her name more recognizable outside of the wrestling industry, which is why the two women are feuding at WrestleMania 34. More recently, WWE's bigger ulterior motive is to use Rousey as leverage to bring WWE programming to the Fox network after the company's current deal with USA Network runs out in 2019. According to a report from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, apparently Fox and UFC were negotiating some type of television deal, but now the network is a lot more interested in doing business with WWE because the company can feature Ronda Rousey every week on either Raw or Smackdown Live. With Ronda at their disposal, WWE has a much greater opportunity to sign a TV deal with Fox. On paper, a move to the network would result in better ratings and business for WWE. With Brock Lesnar leaving the company and WWE officials relying less on John Cena and The Undertaker to sell merchandise and sell tickets, Ronda Rousey is expected to become WWE's most important asset. At WrestleMania 34, her star power will be tested, and she's already done a ton of work promoting her match on ESPN and other outlets. It's been reported that she's being primed for a top spot at WrestleMania 35. Bleacher Report has also reported that a lot of people in the WWE locker room are not happy with Rousey walking into the company and being pushed so quickly. The WWE Universe has had some harsh criticism of her as well, but it's clear that Rousey has already made a massive impact on the company, and her role in WWE is only expected to get bigger. Some people may complain, but Rousey is still learning the tools of the trade, and her involvement should only help the company grow. It's just a matter of how WWE uses her. And I mean, this is very much expected on my part. I mean, you look at the pull as of now that Rousey has had in the WWE, and just a dark segment on Raw that WWE posted to their YouTube channel with Dana Brooke, of all people, has like 10 million views on YouTube, which is absolutely crazy to think. And the funny thing is, her debut to the WWE on YouTube only got like, 5 million views? So I don't know why that video did so well of her getting physical with Dana Brooke. But Rousey, you don't see it yet per se with this feud that she's having with Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and of course Kurt Angle alongside her. You don't see it yet, but she really hasn't immersed herself into the women's division. And when she does immerse herself into the women's division, you will start seeing the impact that Rousey will have in the WWE. So the fact that WWE is using her as the star whose only reason for being on the WWE is not just to be in the women's division and to be like every other competitor is absolutely expected. Because if you think about it, Ronda Rousey is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the entire sport of mixed martial arts, and at that point, professional wrestling. In the first ever women's main event of WrestleMania, that would be absolutely wild. And if there is a matchup that will main event WrestleMania with the women, I would love it to be that one, because Ronda Rousey, you'd believe WWE to have a certain mystique behind her. You'd believe WWE at that point to keep the mystique around Asuka, and you can really make a massive nail-biting main event. Both women undefeated. You know how WWE is going to view Ronda Rousey. Are they going to put the streak on the line? And are they going to give it to Rousey? Are they going to put Rousey's streak on the line and give it to Asuka? Who would WWE put over in that situation? I would personally prefer Asuka, but then again, Rousey's the bigger star. So that would be crazy stuff right there. And WWE, that's the type of thing that they can do with Rousey. That is the type of thing that they can do with Rousey, and that would really bring attention to them. She's a ratings grabber, is Ronda Rousey. She is a name, and WWE needs to take advantage of that, and they look to be doing that. As far as the business moves go, they seem to be planning to do that. They signed her. One of the very reasons, according to this article, that they signed her is to have leverage in that deal, in those negotiations that they are creating with the Fox Sports Network, of course, or FS1, that they're creating with the Fox Sports Network in order to get the, of course, television deal on that network. So WWE, they're using Ronda Rousey for their ulterior motives, and that needs to be done because Ronda Rousey isn't just the star that you're going to bring in to do great stuff in the women's division. She's going to be promoting the WWE. She's going to be one of those ambassador-like figures for the WWE, and that's something that WWE needs to make important and needs to make an effort in that situation. So this was expected. No surprise here with this news story, just bringing that to the attention. Ronda Rousey is going to do big things, and that's how WWE should be using her. For now, we move on to the next news story here, right here on Behind the Mic. Move on here to this news story regarding The Undertaker and whether or not he will be appearing at WrestleMania 34, or not whether or not he'll be appearing at WrestleMania 34, on the Monday Night Raw, the go-home show before WrestleMania 34. Over a month ago, John Cena issued a challenge to The Undertaker for a match at WrestleMania 34. Since then, the dead man has not responded, and with every passing week, and Cena has become more and more frustrated. John Cena is now demanding an answer from The Undertaker next week on Raw, only 6 days before the grandest stage of them all, but WWE officials may have other plans for their first confrontation. The dead man and John Cena have not confronted each other on WWE television because Vince McMahon felt their match was enough for an attraction that it didn't need to be announced until the last minute. Now WWE officials have decided their match may not need to be officially announced at all. According to a new report from Raja, The Undertaker might not be appearing on Raw next week due to accept Cena's challenge. Apparently, WWE officials are considering an idea to have The Undertaker not show up on Raw next week and for John Cena to actually go to WrestleMania as a fan, like he has been joking for several weeks. In this scenario, the dead man would appear at random during the show, accept the challenge, and the match would come to fruition. On paper, it's one of the most interesting builds that WWE has ever done for the event. It's hard to believe that WWE officials wouldn't advertise a once-in-a-lifetime match like John Cena versus The Undertaker on the grandest stage of them all. However, Vince McMahon feels the promotion for the event has been strong enough without John Cena versus The Undertaker being announced beforehand, and most of the fans already know the match is happening. For casual fans tuning into WrestleMania, this will be a big surprise. At this point, it might be the best course of action to wait until the grandest stage of them all. Not officially advertising John Cena or The Undertaker should be a huge test for the rest of the WWE roster, including a status on Roman Reigns and Ronda Rousey's current star power. It's a bold move for WWE officials to keep Cena versus Undertaker unofficial until WrestleMania 34, but it's also guaranteed to be an epic moment. I think that this is not the way to go about it. I hear a lot of mixed conversations about this. Some people are saying that they should wait until WrestleMania. I think Undertaker should appear on Raw and complete that build, just because I feel like an interaction versus John Cena and The Undertaker on a promo level is something that really needs to happen. I would love to see that, really, an interaction between those two on a promo level, because I think something really good, a really great segment can come out of that, and advertising WrestleMania 34 with this match on it really is something that is going to make the show that much bigger. Does it need to be announced? No. The show is going to sell itself. Ronda Rousey, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. There are multiple stars on that show. Kurt Angle, Triple H. The show will sell. People will tune in. It is WrestleMania. The name sells itself. But it's just the fact that you're not getting that build in there, in my opinion, properly. Just having John Cena call Taker out week after week after week. It will be a cool concept and an entertaining concept to have John Cena roaming around WrestleMania. Maybe during the pre-show, Renee Young will tune over to him as the guy with the fans, as doing the media for the WWE, who's out there with the fans saying that they're all excited and blah, 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 blah. And you'll have Cena drinking beer in the crowd, maybe even like doing a wave through the crowd. I have no idea. Starting a wave, doing all this crazy crap in the crowd throughout the show until The Undertaker finally appears and shuts Cena up. And they have a matchup. Another idea that I hear going around is the American Badass coming out as The Undertaker coming out as the American Badass. I'm not against the idea whatsoever. I like the American Badass. And it would make sense since WWE has officially, if you go back to what we seen last year at WrestleMania 34, you're under the impression that they have retired the Dead Man character. He left the attire of the Dead Man, the robe, or the jacket, I should say, the coat, and the hat, and the gloves in the middle of the ring. Undertaker at Raw 25, he pretty much said goodbye to all his adversaries. He told them to rest in peace. He told them, I'm done. And let's say that's the last we've seen of The Undertaker. He came out on Raw 25 to say goodbye to all of the old that was The Undertaker. And it would bring some sense into that promo so he can come out as the American Badass and have one last ride. The thing that really sets me off is the rumors that we've heard of the retirement versus retirement match and all that we can get out of that and see out of that. I mean, that sounds like a very interesting angle, and it would be a very minor thing if on the show, if you ask me, if Undertaker were to just show up at WrestleMania like he did with Bray Wyatt, of course on a much grander scale, if he were just to show up at WrestleMania as the American Badass or whatever and have the match and then ride off into the sunset. I mean, like, that's it for The Undertaker. I want to see him come back, have one more promo, announce that this is going to be his final match, and imagine the mainstream attention WWE can get from that, because you only have one opportunity, in my eyes, to retire The Undertaker. You only get one shot at that. And WWE, it looks like they're taking two now, because last year at WrestleMania 33, they tried to give him some mock retirement, I guess. And it definitely made me cry. It brought tears to the eyes of so many others. And everybody was heartbroken. And that was false. They did that beautifully, even though it was unadvertised. But now that, alright, we saw the retirement last year, you want to bring back and extend this one more year, alright. Give us something proper. Have The Undertaker come out, go on one last retirement tour, do all the grand hoorah-rah, and make your money. Advertise it, and make your money around this matchup. But no, WWE has not decided to do that for the second year in a row. For the second year in a row, well, there's speculation every year that The Undertaker's not coming back. But last year, you actually did something to not just tease that, to confirm that. This year, at least confirm it. Don't just go the minor route of not explaining everything, of leaving everything that you did at WrestleMania 33 in the dust. I very much need that to be addressed from The Undertaker. I need to get closure on what that was. And that closure that I will get is The Undertaker coming out as a Mark Calloway on Raw this Monday and saying words to Cena. Or The Undertaker coming out as the American Badass and saying, that is behind me at this point. I retired that this year. I will retire this so I can say my piece. And WWE still this year doesn't look like they're going to do that. Undertaker's just going to come out, beat up John Cena in a matchup at WrestleMania, and that's it? I mean, I don't understand that. It's going to be a great moment. Undertaker showing up, the reaction of the crowd. Oh my God, nobody expected this. Even though we're expecting it, we're talking about it right here. So I don't know what WWE is planning to do here. I'm on the boat that Undertaker should appear on Raw this week. That The Undertaker should say some words and build to this on his front somewhat against John Cena, instead of giving us the angle for the fifth week in a row or whatever it is that The Undertaker hasn't come out and he hasn't responded to John Cena's words. have him respond, have Cena say something really messed up that will finally bring The Undertaker out, or something of that accord. Because I'm really not on the boat that Undertaker should just appear at WrestleMania, have the match, and be done with it. But that's my opinion. Leave your opinion in the comment section below, because for now, we're going to move on here to the next news story, and that has to do with Shane McMahon and this recent come out that he's had with this disease of diverticulitis. On my Smackdown review, ridiculous enough, I said tuberculosis. Hey, it sounds similar enough, but it is diverticulitis. Anyways, we have the reason why Shane McMahon is able to wrestle at WrestleMania 34. It has been revealed, according once again to Raja. This week on Smackdown Live, Daniel Bryan announced that he would be teaming with Shane McMahon on the grandest stage of them all against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The match was not a surprise, since the WWE Universe has been speculating about it happening for months, but a lot of people were surprised that Shane McMahon is even capable of wrestling after being diagnosed with diverticulitis earlier this week. The expectation was that WWE officials would replace Shane before WrestleMania 34, but it has been reported by Raja that he will be wrestling through his injuries, despite suffering from diverticulitis and a hernia. A lot of people are questioning the legitimacy of Shane's health problems and believe WWE officials are using them to boost the storyline. However, Cage Side Seats has reported that Shane's health issues are legitimate, and the fact that it's WrestleMania is the reason why he's putting off surgery and fighting through the pain. Since WWE officials have made the announcement for Bryan and McMahon versus Owens and Zayn, just at least another week to determine if Shane can perform at WrestleMania and to find a proper replacement if he's unable to wrestle. Shane McMahon could return to SmackDown Live next week and announce his own replacement, but it seems he's committing to the match, which means he might be very limited in the ring. According to another report from Raja, Shane McMahon is dealing with some injuries, but WWE officials might be exaggerating the severity a bit to give him more sympathy from the WWE Universe and put over the attack from Owens and Zayn a few weeks ago. He's still expected to wrestle with a great deal of pain at WrestleMania, so WWE officials are expected to design the match around Shane not being able to take any of his usual risks and high spots. On paper, that should leave Daniel Bryan with most of the heavy lifting. Shane could spend most of the match on the apron or on the canvas taking punishment to set up Bryan for the hot tag toward the end of the match. That is the logical way for WWE officials to book him. Even if he's replaced by someone else, Shane O'Mac will most likely remain at ringside. There's no question that he will be a part of the match in WrestleMania 34. It's just going to take another week to find out the extent of his involvement at the biggest event of the year. And that's very underwhelming news right there, because the fact is that Shane McMahon is, his role in this matchup is going to be to do the high spots. That's what always Shane McMahon does. That's what makes him such an entertaining in-ring performer. He's not amazing in the ring, but he can do all this great spots, and he puts his body on the line. And, I mean, that's what makes Shane McMahon so great. But he's not going to be able to do any of that. That makes me think that he's missing WrestleMania 34. Why would WWE risk putting Shane McMahon in the ring with diverticulitis? Brock Lesnar, that's what he went down for in the UFC. That's why he had to retire from the UFC, because of diverticulitis. Now, I'm sure that this isn't as severe as Brock Lesnar's case of diverticulitis, but why would WWE, my thing is, why would WWE use diverticulitis to exaggerate Shane McMahon's injuries? Why would you do that? Why would you kayfabe diverticulitis? Why not say that Shane McMahon has broken ribs and he might not be able to make it to WrestleMania? Or Shane McMahon has suffered a torn rotator cuff, or whatever the hell they want to say, or whatever the hell they want to say. Realistically, anything they want to say. But diverticulitis, an actual disease, why would they play around with that? And a hernia, why would they play around with that? Why would Shane McMahon be able to make it to WrestleMania only 2 weeks after being diagnosed with that? Why would WWE risk that? I don't think Shane McMahon will be able to make it. I'm calling this report false. I'm saying that WWE is going to be able to find the replacement for Shane McMahon, because the thing is that Daniel Bryan, the fact that Daniel Bryan was in a tag team matchup is so he doesn't have to do the heavy lifting. So he's not in the ring most of the time. So he can just come out and do his big moves, and that's it. So you won't really risk Daniel Bryan getting hurt because WWE's not all that confident that Daniel Bryan can 100% go in the ring without getting injured. So that was the point behind that. Now that Shane McMahon's injured as well, what the hell are you going to do at that point? What are you going to do at that point? Because you can't have Shane in the ring, so what type of tag team matchup are you going to have there? What type of tag team matchup are you going to have there? My impression is that they're going to find the replacement for Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon's not going to be able to make it. The matchup was just made this past Tuesday just because to make the matchup, to have that excitement there, or announcement there, but they're realistically going to find a new opponent. And there's some names that you can throw around. I've been hearing Chris Jericho, even though he can't make it because on April 8th he has commitments to Fozzy. I've been hearing Batista, which is an okay option. I've been hearing Rey Mysterio, again, okay option. But what I would realistically go with, and I've heard this in a couple other sources as well, Johnny Gargano. I'm saying Johnny Gargano in that loser leaves town match, or not even, that unsanctioned match that he's going to have with Tommaso Ciampa. Fantastic feud they're building there, by the way. NXT storytelling is at its prime when it comes to that storyline with Johnny Gargano. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Can't wait to review NXT TakeOver New Orleans. Can't wait to watch NXT TakeOver New Orleans. But I'm saying Johnny Gargano is going to lose that matchup, and he's going to make his way up to the main roster, and he's going to make a surprise entrance at WrestleMania and be the partner of Daniel Bryan. I mean, how fantastic would that be? Johnny Gargano's first night on the job. He's teaming with the man who he's pretty much the replacement with if things don't pan out for Daniel Bryan as the underdog babyface of the WWE. Johnny Gargano, absolutely fantastic, sympathetic babyface. And Daniel Bryan got over for being the absolutely fantastic, sympathetic babyface. So that would make a lot of sense. The only other thing that would make sense to me is Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho has had the beef with Kevin Owens, and he was put out this summer. He was written off of television due to Kevin Owens. So it would make a lot of sense to have Chris Jericho come back and settle that beef with Kevin Owens. But of course, I don't believe that that's going to happen. So what I'm saying is that WWE is either going to bring in Batista, because I don't think that Johnny Gargano thing is happening, as fantastic as it would be. Johnny Gargano is amazing in the ring, and I'd love to see him get that moment. It's either going to be Batista, even though that makes absolutely zero sense. But, I mean, what you want to see is somebody who can bring that entertaining aspect out of the match. You want to see somebody who's on the level of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Batista's not at that level. He's really, really not. Whoever anybody else is saying, I've heard a couple other names. Kane and bringing back Team Hell No, that's another thing that I've heard. You want somebody who's on the level of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Rey Mysterio is an interesting option for that. And we have news on Rey Mysterio coming back and being part of another matchup as a partner of somebody else on WrestleMania, which we'll discuss next. But, I mean, the viable option, if Shane McMahon is out, if WWE's not going to plan to put on that lopsided mess of a matchup, then I'm saying that WWE should go with Johnny Gargano. So that's my thoughts on that. I don't think Shane McMahon is going to make it, despite what this article says. Hopefully he can. Hopefully Shane McMahon will be 100%. Hopefully WWE is exaggerating the injuries. But I just find it weird that they're going with diverticulitis as the injury to exaggerate. I don't think that's the case at all. But, again, sound off in the comment section below. Tell me what you guys think, because it's not just about what I think. But that is besides the point, because for now we're going to move on here. Right here on Behind the Mic, episode number 60. And we move on here to this news story, of course, like I mentioned, on Rey Mysterio and his status for WrestleMania 34 being revealed. I've been hearing news stories, rampant news stories about Vince McMahon and how he wants Rey Mysterio on WrestleMania 34. He wants Rey Mysterio in the WWE. The things seem to be going otherwise, but apparently they could bring him in for WrestleMania 34 in a certain position. There have been some WWE rumors circulating that Rey Mysterio may show up for WrestleMania 34 either in a match or in some other way. Well, the speculation is very light in terms of him being able to appear at the WWE's big pay-per-view. A Sports Illustrated report opened the door for the idea. However, recent reports from professional wrestling insiders, including Dave Meltzer, have seemed to shoot down the rumors at least a bit. Here are the latest details on what is being said about Rey Mysterio's potential return for a match or involvement at the pay-per-view. A day ago, the speculation hit about who Braun Strowman's mystery tag team partner could be when he faces Sheamus and Cesaro for the WWE Raw tag team titles. A variety of superstar names have been tossed around, including Big Cass and Samoa Joe. Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated put out a report with rumors that Vince McMahon was strongly considering Rey Mysterio for that spot. On Thursday, Ringside News, Steve Carrier reported on the Rey Mysterio situation, with WWE Carrier mentioned that Wrestling Observer newsletter's Dave Meltzer said that the WWE has not been in any sort of talks regarding Rey Mysterio appearing at WrestleMania 34. Meltzer said the following in his comments about Rey Mysterio. At press time, while Rey, has been in talks with WWE, nobody had brought up to him doing anything at WrestleMania. Obviously, anything is possible, and if WWE were to want him in that spot, he wouldn't advertise to it. Fans saw Mysterio make his return for the WWE scene this past January as an entrant in the 2018 Royal Rumble match. While Mysterio was eliminated from the match, he put on a good performance as always and had fans wondering if he might be making a full-time return or at least part-time for WrestleMania and other pay-per-views. There were even rumors of a potential Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles match at some point in the future, which sounds absolutely amazing. While there's no word of a major deal with WWE for Mania, the popular superstar has been reportedly dealing with a bicep injury, which has kept him from competing in the ring for various promotions. Mysterio made a recent appearance last weekend in Long Beach, California, as part of New Japan's Strong Style Evolved event. During that time, he was involved in an in-ring attack where Ring of Honor star Marty Scurll attacked him. Rey also was challenged to a future title match by Will Ospreay for a future NJPW event, New Japan Pro Wrestling, of course. Mysterio was originally booked to wrestle against Jushin Thunder Liger at the event, but of course didn't due to his injury situation. So clearly that's been a little hiccup for Mysterio as of late. All that said, fans know that WWE loves to keep their surprises under wraps as best as they can. In addition, they are known for swerving plans at the last minute, so it's still possible that Mysterio appears in some capacity at WrestleMania 34. I'm leaning towards the fact that he won't appear at WrestleMania 34. I mean, he's doing things actively on the indie scene, clearly being attacked by Marty Scurll. He was supposed to have a matchup with Jushin Thunder Liger. That clearly didn't happen due to the bicep injury, so that presents a situation in and of itself. Makes you wonder whether or not he's even going to be able to compete in a WWE ring. Clearly, WWE has rigorous medical testing. Didn't clear Daniel Bryan for 3 or 4 or 2 years, however the hell long it was, I can't even calculate. But that is besides the point. I think Mysterio will return to WWE in some time in the future, but it's not WrestleMania 34. WrestleMania 34's card is stacked as it is. There are people in place who haven't even gotten a matchup at WrestleMania 34 who definitely deserve a matchup at WrestleMania 34 and who are more in tune, or it makes more sense for them to team with Braun Strowman. I mean, Elias is my pick to team with Braun Strowman. It makes the most sense to me if Elias were to team with Braun Strowman as that odd tag team thing. I don't think that's going to happen. There's reports going around that Elias is going to have his own segment where a star is going to come in and do something with him. I find that absolutely fantastic for Elias. I think that's better than him teaming with Braun Strowman. It opens the door for somebody like Samoa Joe to team for Braun Strowman. There's no need for Rey Mysterio to fill in that spot. I feel like a returning Samoa Joe would be awesome in that spot, and it would really be a big thing for the tag team division if you could get a team like Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman in there. I think that's what WWE should go for, but that's just my opinion. I think Rey Mysterio would be a fine spot. You can build off of that little big situation that you have there, but the thing is that WWE really doesn't need him right now, and clearly he's dealing with some injuries, and he's highly involved in the indie situation. Apparently he is funding some very small starting up wrestling company, and he's going to be actively performing on there. So, I mean, what's the point of having Mysterio on WWE television? He has all these commitments he has to go through. But then again, what indie star doesn't before they head into WWE? I don't know, but my opinion is he's not going to be returning to the WWE, at least not just yet. So that's my opinion on that. For now, we move on here to the next and final news story, and quite a controversial one, right here on Behind the Mic. And the final news story on Behind the Mic, episode number 60, has to do with The Rock and John Cena, two men who haven't been feuding for, 5 years now? But apparently John Cena is furious with WWE over negotiations with The Rock for WrestleMania 34. This is according to Dirty Sheets. For the past several weeks, WWE officials have been negotiating with The Rock to make an appearance at WrestleMania 34. At first, it seemed they wanted him to work a match as Ronda Rousey's partner against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, but that didn't happen, and he was replaced with Kurt Angle. The next idea was for The Rock to confront Elias on the grandest stage of them all, but that's also been canceled. I don't like that fact. I think that would have been a great segment. The Rock and Elias. I don't know why the hell they would cancel that. I think that Elias is going into his own segment at WrestleMania, but according to this, it's not going to be against The Rock. I don't know. I kind of don't agree with this article on that. I think that is happening, but that is besides the point. We move on here, but that's also been shot down according to this article. Of course, that matchup with Elias. Anyways, the two sides are still negotiating, but their talks are creating big problems within WWE, especially with John Cena. According to a new report from Dirty Sheets, the People's Champion genuinely wants to be in New Orleans for WrestleMania this year. Roman Reigns and Nia Jax are both expected to win titles and have big nights, but Warner Brothers has complete control over The Rock's media schedule, and he would be forced to miss a trip to Europe to promote his new movie, Rampage. That's a big problem because the film is released in Europe and the US the week after WrestleMania, so it's a huge hit for The Rock to miss those appearances. However, the Great One could still appear at WrestleMania 34 if WWE agrees to heavily promote the film to make up for the lost appearances. But that would be a huge slap in the face to John Cena. His new movie, Blockers, has been released in Europe and will premiere in the US during WrestleMania weekend. But the film has received little promotion from WWE, and that isn't expected to change next weekend. Cena is said to be very frustrated that WWE will bend over backwards for The Rock, but won't promote his movie at all. Meanwhile, John Cena has been promoting a match for WrestleMania 34 with The Undertaker all by himself over the past several weeks. It's possible that WWE may not even officially announce their match next week on Raw. The company has promoted other appearances from Cena, but Blockers is a rated R adult comedy, which goes against the family-friendly way that WWE does business. It's understandable why WWE would not want to promote Cena's movie, but it's also understandable why John Cena would be really frustrated. The irony is that John Cena was just praising The Rock during a recent interview with The Wrap. It's been reported that current betting odds give the Great One a 99% chance at showing up for WrestleMania. The expectation is a deal will be worked out before the grandest stage of them all, but it's unclear how the issue between Cena and WWE will be resolved. According to PW Insider Elite Audio, John Cena will be taking a hiatus after WrestleMania 34. The hope is that John Cena and WWE can officially part way on good term. I mean, this might be something that drives John Cena out of the WWE. WWE has to be careful with this if that goes into such an extreme situation. But that's just if you ask me. I think that this is something that just goes to show you the double standard in this company when it comes to who they value more. If they value you more than somebody else, WWE will treat you like a king. Clearly, they are treating The Rock like a king. And it's understandable. They want to make WrestleMania their biggest show of the year. They're trying to get into negotiations with The Rock. And you need to understand that The Rock is a very, very busy man. And that you must accommodate his schedule. And if you want to make WrestleMania this biggest show of the year. So clearly, WWE is trying to accommodate The Rock. I don't know why John Cena is getting mad about that. He's known how this company works for years upon years that he's been in this system. Am I saying that it's fair that John Cena is getting slighted of promoting his movie on WWE television and that The Rock does get to promote his movie? No, it is not fair that that's the case. But John Cena, of all people, should not be coming out and complaining that it's not fair, and quite frankly, he's not. This is just an article. But he should not be one to complain about him being slighted because it's worked out in his favor in the past. This company clearly features one person over the other when it comes down to it. And this time around, they are favoring The Rock. And John Cena can't get mad at that. It's not fair that he doesn't get to promote his movie, but the WWE isn't fair, and if anything, that's something that it just goes to show you what's wrong with the WWE and the way they do business. They will favor one person over the other, and it's not fair. It is not a good way to run a company, but that's the way WWE operates. It is a cold, heartless machine, and you will get screwed. Even if you are somebody of the caliber of John Cena, there will always be a bigger fish, and this time around, that bigger fish is The Rock. I mean, really can't get bigger of a fish than The Rock, but you really, at least before this, before seeing that John Cena is getting screwed over here, you didn't think that there was a bigger fish than John Cena. Here's John Cena getting eaten up by the bigger fish. So, I mean, realistically, there's nothing you can do about it. This company is run by a bunch of crazy people, and those crazy people will not be afraid to screw you over when the time comes. And this time around, John Cena is the one being screwed over. But for now, that is going to be all right here on Behind the Mic. We're going to move on to the closing segments. For now, this is going to be all right here on Behind the Mic, episode number 60. I hope you guys enjoyed what you've heard here, sincerely, because, I mean, we're heading into the big leagues. We're heading into WrestleMania 34 week, and there's going to be a lot of content. So I just want to tell you guys to make sure to subscribe in a wait of all that content, because you won't have to wait long. You're going to be getting a bunch of crap before WrestleMania 34 hits the air, and after WrestleMania 34 hits the air, as a matter of fact, on that front. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to support, because I'm going to need that support in order to power through all the content that you're going to be getting this week. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like this video if you enjoyed what you heard here, make sure to dislike if you didn't enjoy what you heard here. Make sure to comment if, of course, what you thought about this very video and everything that you heard during this very video, because for now, this is going to be all from Joel Perez of Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. I hope you sincerely enjoyed what you heard here, because for now, I am out of here. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I will see you all next time right here on Ringside Wrestling.